What I saw wasn't human.
Oh my God!
It was very tall. And what's more, it saw me. This thing.
Rawhead Rex.
Why not consider becoming a supporter of Film Network Ireland on buymeacoffee.com/FNI and sign up to become a member so you can benefit from all sorts of little extra perks. Tickets for screenings, tickets to our meetups, discounts and so much more. You'll find more about us on social media, on Facebook and Insta on @Film Network Ireland. As always, we are excited to bring you exclusive interviews with some of Ireland's top filmmakers, actors and industry insiders. If you enjoy our show, why not deep dive into our back catalogue for a varied and exciting look behind the scenes of what it's actually like to work in the film and TV industry across all departments on the island of Ireland. Wrapchat is available on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and wherever you find your audio content relating to film and TV.
Hello everybody, and you're very welcome back to FNI Wrapchat here in Dublin City Centre. We're really excited in this second interview for the cult, obscure, wonderful job as it came in, I'm sure for everybody at the time in the 80s, Rawhead Rex. My name is Paul Butler Lennox. Thanks for watching and subscribing and getting involved in the show. It's very much a community endeavour, and we really appreciate all of your interests, listens, shares and interactions over the years in this our 9th year of FNI Wrapchat. Today I'm joined by someone who I admire on a number of levels. This is the bit where you can put your earmuffs on or whatever, but somebody who is really a conduit of the arts in many different ways. An actor, a director, theatre director, writer, someone who, if you're familiar with the New Theatre, you'll know from his incredible work there over a number of years, not to mention his film work, in films as wide and varied as The General, The Butcher Boy, The Snapper, some memorable moments in various different film and TV and television, including Bachelor's Walk, and numerous credits in the theatre in Ireland and also in the UK, and his famous role in Juno and the Paycock, working with Judi Dench. Today we're really delighted and quite excited to chat to Mr. Ronan Wilmot. How are you doing?
Thanks, Paul. Thanks indeed. Yeah, nice to hear all those. Got some things that I even forgot about. Things that I've done. Been around so long.
Isn't that the best position to be in, to forget
I
some of the good work?
suppose still be going. Yeah, still going. Yeah.
There's a couple of things I want to talk to you about, but first of which, I'd love to talk to you about, because Samhain is upon us. We're doing a special retrospective episode on probably, to my mind, one of the most famous Irish horror films. Oddities, but wonderful in lots of different ways. A film that a couple of years ago, I went to see a screen in the Lighthouse
Oh,
Cinema,
really? Yeah.
and it was packed.
Oh,
And people were laughing and joking and having a laugh.
Yeah.
And it was a real celebration of cinema.
This Rawhead Rex you're
Yeah,
talking
yeah,
about. Oh,
yeah.
right. Okay, yeah.
And obviously, Ronan played a huge part in Rawhead Rex. First of all, I'll ask you, I suppose, by jumping in and saying, how did it come about for you, this very unusual opportunity, especially at a time when films of that size weren't really coming into the country or were few and far between?
Yeah, there was very little happening in films. You know, you're spot on there. There was a casting director. God, I'm always forgetting her name. Anyway, I was a big fan of what I did, but she asked me to go for it, and I got the part. You know, I was playing a kind of a priest, vic or whatever it was. In it, it's a long time ago now, Paul. So forgive me if I'm stuttering over the dates and the years and all that.
Of course.
But it was. But to bring up what you're saying about a cult thing and the cinema being packed out and all that, I remember my son David, who happens to be an actor as well, he was working, this is before he became an actor, as a waiter in the Coffee Inn just off Grafton Street there. And when he heard the name, those guys who used to come in, hey mister, is that your father who's in Rawhead Rex? Is it? Jeez, hey lads. Honest to God, yeah. I didn't realise that, you know.
Yeah.
But it had that underground thing about it, you know.
Yeah, it's a cult. It's a huge cult film. I mean,
good Lord.
For lots of different reasons. And films, attract audiences for lots of different reasons. And, obviously actors are grateful for any work that comes their way at any point.
Of course,
no more than myself. But what's your memories of actually shooting the film itself? Because you were in it quite a lot. You were a big part of the film.
Yeah, I say, my brain is damaged goods, as they say, you know. So recalling back, what year was it?
I think it was 86.
Yeah, it would. 86, okay.
It was
yeah.
86, yeah.
So that's the best part of
Shall I tell you how old I was in 1986?
20, that's 40 years ago, over 40
Yeah,
years
I was 4 in 1986.
All right. So all I remember is, that this was something that was happening and that it was playing a part, it was a kind of mad kind of thing. And, there were lovely people who were behind it,
Yeah.
And there was an American actress in it, and Neil Tobin was in it.
The great Neil Tobin.
The great Neil Tobin, yeah. I had to choke him at one stage in the film. But and then there was the guy who was playing Rawhead Rex himself, who was 6'6" or something. Very nice guy, young German guy. He was only 16 or 17 years of age.
Wow.
But it was amazing looking up at him, But that's as much as you just let loose on a thing that's a horror film.
Yeah.
And my kind of approach to acting was, well, that's it. This is horror, so you just lash into it. There's no kind of subtlety or trying to do any. Just give it the full shilling. And
11 out of 10.
11. Well, I mean, do you know? I swear to God, I don't think I've seen the full film.
Have you not?
No, I swear I can't recall seeing the full film.
Yeah.
So, because what happened is, I think there was some Japanese backings to it, and the whole thing collapsed as regards it being put out.
Oh, the distribution and so
yeah,
on.
all that carry on. So yeah, I think it came out in video. Yeah. That's what the old thing.
And that's where it grew, I guess.
That's
probably
where
on
it happened,
Betamax
yeah.
initially, and then VHS over the years.
And remember when those video stores used to be around,
Oh, yeah.
It was in that era.
For our younger viewers, you used to have to go and walk up to a shop and walk around. A lot like you'd scroll on Netflix now, deep dive into finding and it's become, you know, one of those films that, and I mean this in a positive way, that people, you know, with their friends on a Friday and Saturday night would watch.
Wonderful.
Stick on, and it's, you know, it's a celebration of cinema in all its forms. In a good way.
And it showed Irish talent, you know, to be able to make something out of, you knew you weren't in kind of like Hamlet or something, like, you know, that it was boot crack, but everybody went for the extreme of the characters.
Yeah.
So that doesn't mean everyone's shouting and roaring, far from it. But you just had this thing that if Tobin, the great Neil Tobin, if he was on it, you just saw this madness which was in him anyway. But just in him, and it perfectly suited the darkness of the subject matter. You know, it's great. Yeah.
I mean, it's also a rare film in the sense that there was a lot of like really wonderful actors in it, like yourself, obviously. Donald McCann doing a bit at the start of the film.
Right,
God bless Donald. You know, and a young Hugh O'Connor.
Correct,
playing the American Son.
That's right, yeah.
And we're going to have Hugh on as well.
Yeah.
So this will go out in a couple of parts, I think.
Yeah.
But there's this great scene in the film where you're
asking me questions now that probably can't answer, you know, because I can't remember I've never seen. Go on anyway. Yeah.
Well, here's the thing. It's on YouTube. I'll send you a link.
Okay.
The whole thing. You might watch it.
Don't have YouTube.
Mm-hmm. You can find it relatively easily.
Okay.
Now, there's a great scene in the film where where there's a kind of possession, kind of hallucinogenic type scene where you put your hand on the altar, and you're kind of transported into this very crazy, trippy, almost 1970s Woodstock type, very 80s effect type montage. Like, how does it, as good as your imagination is as an actor, you know, have you any recollections of just kind of trust? Like the director, as I understand, was he an American director?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
You know, I have his name here.
That would help.
Yeah, George Pavlo.
Yeah, nice guy. Yeah.
What was your memories of working with him? And I know
can't remember. Honest to God,
nothing.
No, I mean it's not that he wasn't
good.
It just again it's so long ago, and I remember him, and nothing.
He wasn't forgettable. It was just
Yeah, it's just, you know, he did his job. We all did our job, and that was it.
Yeah.
But I don't, you know, if it's become a kind of a cult underground movie, well, that's due down to him and everybody else involved in it, you know.
Yeah.
And it's terrific to hear that. I have to say, it's terrific to hear that.
Yeah, it's a bizarre film in the sense that
I remember you talked about Donald McCann, Lord of mercy, who's passed away. He was a good friend. I remember him because I had very little. I had no training as an actor, since Gaelela, as I say. But I remember him taking me aside. I said, "Listen, Ronan," he said, "when we do this, or you do this shot that's coming up," he said, "remember, that's where it is, and it's going to be twice the size of this room that we're sitting in now, 3 times, 4 times. Just remember, the less you do." So you know.
Yeah, we might talk a little bit about Donald. I mean, when I went to drama school, and Donald became, obviously, you know, God love him, passed away earlier than he should have. He's become this mythic, almost O'Toole-esque type, particularly in the Irish community, the Irish acting community. You said he was a good pal of yours. What are your memories of, obviously, working with him, but him as a man, and how important was he to the firmament of Irish acting over the years?
Donald had this from a very early age. He was a handsome-looking guy, and he just had it. And I remember seeing him when he was starting out, and he was starting out with two other Stephen Ray and Des Cave, and they were in the Abbey at the time, which was then in the Queen's Theatre, and I used to go there quite a bit. And Donald had that kind of thing. Stephen had it as well, and SK. But yeah, he just had his own style, Donald, and well-read individual, very kind of cultured and that. His father was worked in the Irish press and was Lord Mayor of Dublin at one stage. John McCann wrote plays, and he's very charming, and we shared our love of sport, you know, passionately, the pair of us, you know, both him and myself played it. But it's an interesting kind of guy, because there was a time when, you know, we'll probably get around to it in this chat, when I joined the Royal Shakespeare Company. But there was a time when they were chasing Donald McCann, the greatest theatre company in the world at the time. Probably still is, I don't know, but certainly then. And they wanted to give him everything. No, not interested. Not interested.
A very private man as well, wasn't he?
He was a private man, yeah. He was private, you know. Terrific actor. It's interesting, like the end. Can I just tell you about the end with Donald? You know, he did a play by Sebastian Barry.
The Steward of Christendom, wasn't
Steward of Christendom. Thank you for telling me, because I'm hopeless at name. And anyway, a secretary in the Abbey was ringing, trying to get one ticket for the show, for me, you know, and because it started in the Royal Court in London, came to the Gate Theatre, that's what we're talking about, and then it went to Broadway. And she eventually rang me and said, I've got you one ticket. So I went to it, and I saw McCann, you know, It was just towering performance. And afterwards, I said, will I wait for Donald? I said, well, you know, I hadn't seen him in ages and ages. So I went down to the bar in the thing, and there was a friend of his, Eddie Thornton, he would have gone, who was a great rugby player. And Donald McCann went to Turnier College, and I went to Blackrock. And so there was this bit of rivalry at the rugby level. But both of us passionately interested in rugby, and Donald. Yeah, and anyway, so there was Eddie. I said, I'm Ronan Wilmot. I introduced, I heard your name or something like that. He said, so we're all waiting for Donald to come. He came down the stairs, and of course we had great crack. And I said to Donald, after the thing was finished, I said, how are you getting home? I'm getting a taxi. He said, I'll drop you home, I said to him. So he's living out with Fidel McCullough. They're living out in Glasnevin at the time. And so when I was dropping him off, and you're always, when you're in the company of people, star people like that, you know, I'm always kind of apprehensive. So I said, Don, before you go, I said, listen, I just want to say something about the performance. I said, listen, I just want to say that, hold on, he said, hold on. He said, I was about to say, about the best thing he had ever done. I said, well, that's what I was going to say, Don. It's the best thing I've ever seen you do. And so it was just so terrific to be able to say that to him, to someone who had known. Anyway, a few years after that, don't know how many, it wasn't that long, heard that he had got cancer, you know, and all that. And I was doing shows in Berlin, I did 3 years in a row. I brought shows to Berlin, brought them, put them on there for weeks and weeks. Anyway, before I went, I was going off to Berlin, and I said, he was in St. Luke's, and I said, I better get up there to see him, because it may not, so, you know, I was going away for 6 weeks or 10 weeks, whatever it was, and it just may not. So I went over first thing in the morning, and I got there at 8 a.m. in the morning. I went into the Luke's, and it was lovely and calm and all that, because everyone was kind of queuing up, you know, during the day to see. And I said, where's Donald McCann? He said, down there, and he's on the left-hand side. And there he was, and he had this stuff in or whatever they shoot into you. And there he was smoking. How are you, head? So that's my last, the last two things with Donald. To be able to hear from his own mouth that it was the greatest thing he ever did, and then to be able to say goodbye to him.
Sure, isn't that the point of it all, where you feel as if that was his Everest, you know.
No question. Well put, yeah.
And also fine performance, obviously, in Faith Healer as well, you know. But not a patch on that show.
No,
says you.
not a patch. The people are writing, I read in the papers, the Faith Healer, I'm telling you. I said, we didn't need to go into the thing with Donald himself sitting in the car, vis-a-vis Faith Healer. Once he said that, then he knew that Faith Healer wasn't up with Stuart
There you
and
go. I
Christendom.
suppose it says a lot, and it speaks volumes of him as well. It's funny that we, when I met you today, just to get out of the rain, you were in there's a bookmakers below us, and Donald was fond of a flutter, I believe.
Oh,
as well.
very much so. Yeah, it sure was, yeah.
But
Yeah.
look, we could do a whole podcast on Donald alone and his body of work. But let's talk about yours, which is extensive. How did it all start for you? Why did you want to be an actor? You know, you've been at it, you know, a few weeks now.
I tell you how it all began. I was in London in the 60s and I was a sales rep for Ayrn Soups, trying to sell tomato soup to the English nation, and they weren't interested. Anyway, I was working for Ayrn Soups and I got fired by the firm, you know. Anyway, I was delighted to get. But anyway, it was the 60s in London. It was what they say. It was that brilliant. It was to be in London. Anyway, I went working on a building site, and then my father, who was a writer and all that, he was on the board of directors of the Abbey, and he rang me out of the blue, because we own it, and he said, I said, oh, how are you, Dad? How's it going? Yeah, and chat. I said, how is my brother Brendan? Now, Brendan was a brother of mine who wasn't very stable emotionally, you know, and had joined the French Foreign Legion in his time and all that kind of thing. And he said, I'm having terrible trouble. I said, what's the trouble? He said, well, they're about to open the Peacock Theatre, and there's a job going as house manager in the Peacock, and I arranged an interview for him, and he's not interested in going for it. I said, I'd be interested. He said, would you? Yeah. He said, would you come over for an interview? I said, of course I will. And on a Saturday morning, I don't know, the following week or something like that, I flew, and I met the then general manager, Phil O'Kelly, and I met him in a restaurant just opposite Wynn's Hotel, chat for about an hour, finished up, and he said, I'm looking forward to working with you. And so I started in, I don't know, a few weeks later. Peacock hadn't opened. A few weeks later, I came back from London. And when I went in, and he said, he introduced me to Sally Sweeney and Ty Crowley, and he said, you're going on the telephones, you know, answering the phones. But I knew that moment that I was home. I was working in the theatre and, you know, in that environment.
It's where you wanted to be.
Yeah, well, I didn't even think about it, but I knew I was there. Anyway, so I spent the next 7.5 years in the Abbey Theatre, starting as house manager in the Peacock, and then did wages, and then I did 4.5 years as press and publicity officer. And I just said after that, I got the second general manager, John Slemon. He gave me my head a lot, and I was able to bring mime artists and dance companies and everything, put them on the Peacock, you know. So I left, and
the Peacock, of course, was was a remedy for maybe some of the more traditional stuff that would have been happening at the Abbey. So some more experimental stuff would have been put on in the Peacock. Right?
That's exactly it. Spot on. Yeah, exactly. Yeah. That was its function. It said that in the chart or whatever it is. Put on plays in Irish and English and European ones and experiment. That's exactly spot on there. And so I went, and then I converted the cinema to a theatre down in Ballsbridge. It was called the Oscar. It's now a Muslim temple. And so, and then I decided, I was 34 years of age. I said, fuck it, I might try this acting. If it fails, it doesn't matter. So I got a play called The Homecoming by Harold Pinter, and we got it on in the Project Art Centre. I took the smallest part. And again, a bit like starting in the Abbey, when I was on stage, I said, it doesn't matter if I fail, it's only on for 3 weeks. If it doesn't matter, I can go back to putting on. I was managing Louis Stewart jazz guitars, putting on jazz concerts, etc. I can go back to what it was doing. And when I was on stage, playing, kind of like a guy from East End of London who lost a bit of boxing and all that.
Really?
And I knew I liked being on stage, and I knew I wasn't making the balls of it, And I've been an actor ever since. And 3 years later, I was with the Royal Shakespeare Company.
Mad, isn't it?
No training, no nothing.
Sure, do you need training if it's in you?
Well, it's like a footballer. You either have it or you don't have it,
I believe that.
And certainly, the repetitiveness and the amount of stuff that I did and all the people I work with, you learn.
Yeah.
But you either have it or you don't have it.
I believe that too. I think some people think that every day is a school day. You should always be open to, regardless of experience, to keeping an open mind, picking stuff up from people here and there and trying to be better.
Yeah.
Better,
Yeah.
Yeah. And there's only so much, I'd imagine, peering behind the curtain and wondering what's going on stage, where it was inevitable that you were going to end up there.
Well, that you'd be interested, because I used to see them rehearsing, and I'd be going across the bar and they'd be going in and seeing them do dress rehearsal, and I used to think to myself, geez, I could do that.
It's amazing. What a career. I'll talk to you about, you'll know Ronan from, lots of turns in films and TV, obviously. Some of our favourite films, you're on the Snapper set as well, the Van as well.
The Van, yeah.
Yeah. I mean...
Snapper.
No, I know, you obviously you wouldn't have had, the leads in those films, but how important is it to be part of the cultural representation of this city and being part of those things and looking back and going, Jesus, wasn't it great to be in that? For whatever reason,
Well, let's start at the top on that. I am just so proud of just before we came on air, as it were, here, Paul. I just back from doing a one-man show on Sean O'Casey. So, to be able to represent my nation and what we've been through, and where we stand and where we're going, and all that, and our culture and our all that, it's just an honour.
Of course,
it's an honour.
Yeah.
It's not, I got that, or looking for that. It's an honour to be able to do, to be able to tell the story of Sean O'Casey. Yeah. So, working in the Abbey, to see the great Abbey actors and all that, doing O'Casey's, man. The working class Protestant who, when his first play went on, The Shadow of a Gunman, he was digging roads.
Yeah.
He was actually digging roads outside. He was a labourer.
Yeah.
And, to represent him, I knew his wife, I know his daughter still alive, and to be able to do that, and it's just a sheer privilege.
Yeah.
Is that answering your question?
Oh,
I can't remember.
No, more, absolutely. No, I'm just fascinated listening. I mean, especially being part of, relatively early productions of these shows, I mean, you've worked with some incredible people, incredible directors, in theatre and obviously film and TV.
Yeah.
You've also worked with Judi Dench.
Yes, yeah.
And I noticed on the programme, for the show at the weekend, that she gave a very kind forward or some notes.
Yeah.
What was she like to work with?
Super. She's a lovely person. Lovely, but great
Half Irish
actor.
as well, lest we forget.
Yeah, her mother's from Dublin, her mother's from Sandymount.
Yeah.
And she's loads of relations here. In fact, the only time that she's ever appeared on stage in Ireland, I put her on.
You gave her a big break in Dublin.
And she had loads of relations, who live here in Ireland, and she just loved it. I remember her telling me later, Ron, I'm so nervous going on the Abbey stage. Here, Judi Dench, now Dame Judi Dench, and Michael, yeah. I remember it. Yeah.
She did a great episode of Who Do You Think You Are? I don't know if you've seen it.
I did, yeah.
She traces back her family all
she
the way
came
through.
here, yeah. She went around Sandymount, yeah.
They met
her mother and her father. They met. He was a doctor. He was studying medicine. Don't know what she was doing. But they met in Trinity, just around the corner, yeah. That's where they met, yeah. And they lived in New York, of course, yeah. And I knew her brother as well, Jeffrey, yeah.
I want to talk to you a little bit about your work with the New Theatre, because, it's kind of a life's work, isn't it, for you? You know, I'm sure not without its ups and downs and problems over the years, especially running an independent theatre and a bookshop and being involved there. How important is it to have an alternative view from an artistic perspective? How important is independent artistry?
Well, I just go back at how I got involved in the new theatre. Yeah. As I mentioned earlier on, I brought 3 shows to Berlin 1 year after another. A small little theatre, not unlike the new theatre or the Focus Theatre.
Oh, the Focus
Theatre,
Jesus.
yeah. So I brought 3 shows. The first one was Mr. Joyce is Leaving Paris by John Gallagher. The second one was Waiting for Godot. And the third one was Exiles by James Joyce. So I did these 3 plays. And we used to go there and we'd play for minimum 5 or 6 weeks in this lovely little venues. And I remember after the third time, I did Exiles, which is Joyce's only play, and he gave up writing. He gave up the idea of writing plays after because it got bad reviews. And I think I identified the problem with the play. Anyway, it was a huge success. All 3 of them were, but this huge success in Berlin, you know. A brilliant cast. We had a brilliant cast. And I said to myself, fuck this for a lark. I said, I'm bringing shows to Berlin and they're not going on in my own city in Dublin. So I said, I came back and I said, finish with Berlin. I'm going to try and find a venue in Dublin.
Yeah.
And there's a friend of mine, Lord of Mercy, Gerald Leary, who was a great actor, great friend of Jim Sher. Always played Big Jim Larkin. And I got on to him and I said, what's the story about that theatre? I read something about this, back at the bookshop, the Connolly bookshop. And he said, I'll find out the information for you. And I met Anthony Fox. And I said, look, I'm doing these shows. I met him for the first time. And he said, yeah, you can take over the venue. He was going away with his mate, Mark Smith. They were going on motorbikes all over Europe. And he said, you can take over the whole place. And that's where it started. And I did it for, I don't know how many years, but I remember the back where the theatre was very dangerous. The whole building could have collapsed. It was really falling in.
It was in disrepair, was it?
Huh?
It was in disrepair.
It was just age. It was just kind of... And we did a production of The Hostage. And I said to Anthony, look, Anthony, when this is finished, I'm not leaving the public in anymore because the building could have collapsed. Yeah. And in stepped, much maligned man now, Mick Wallace, who's a builder, and we all know who he is. And he obviously went to the Connolly bookshop people and he said, look, you give me the site and I'll build you a theatre, offices, bookshop. The rest is mine. And he put in 5 or 6 apartments.
On the top?
At the back,
at the back.
They're lovely. And that's how the new theatre was saved and the Connolly bookshop was saved and he gave us a brand new theatre.
Thanks.
Yeah, exactly.
No, it's...
Exactly. Yeah.
So you must have as well, you're of the vintage as well, that you probably did some shows in the Ablana.
I did, yeah.
Under Busaris.
Yeah, I did 1 show there. It was Streamers, American play. And it was in the Dublin Theatre Festival. And it was about a group of American soldiers about to be sent to Vietnam.
Wow.
And there's violence beforehand, and they're drinking and all that. That whole thing that America went through about, fighting that ridiculous war, But it was about that. And who was in it? Liam Neeson.
Oh.
Yeah, Liam was in it. Yeah.
Big Liam.
Yeah. Liam, myself.
And of course you worked with him in Lamb, didn't you, as well?
I did, yeah. And the interesting thing, sticking with the theatre, we did a lunchtime show written by Lady Gregory called The Rising of the Moon. Just a 2-hander, myself and Liam. And it was so successful, and so at lunchtime, a guy called Bill Smith, Lord of Mercy, he asked us would we tour around Bavaria one November, the following that we did during the summer, and we did. So myself and Liam Neeson toured this.
I hope you bought your long johns, did you?
Yeah, it was. I tell you, yeah, it was a great play. It's called The Rising of the Moon.
Yeah.
And Lady Gregory, yeah. Anyway, so we did, yeah.
You've crossed paths with some incredible people.
Yeah, indeed, yeah.
You know, surely you haven't written a memoir, have you?
No, funny enough, I tell you what I'm doing, Paul, and I'll invite you to it. I'll invite you to the open. I have taken the decision that next November, not this one, next November, 12 months' time, I will launch a book on my memoirs. Yeah. And it'll be done with photographs.
Where will you have that reception?
I'd have it
Obviously in Connolly Books.
Yeah, exactly. Why not? Yeah, why not? Exactly, yeah.
But I just want to talk to you about kind of working with directors, and you're a director yourself.
Yeah.
What makes a good director?
That's a lovely question. Yeah, lovely question. I sympathy and simpatico for the subject matter, obviously.
Yeah.
And just getting good casting is really important. Good casting is really important. You talk about Judi Dench, unbelievable. Norman Rodway did a good job as Captain Boyle. But it's casting.
Yeah.
Casting plus the person themselves.
Yeah.
And that the person has simpatico and understanding for everyone involved in the cast.
Objective casting, would you say?
Yeah, I mean...
Because sometimes you fall into a trap, especially when I've seen, and in no way am I inferring favouritism and things like that, and nepotism, but what makes a really, and there's a case for the other side of it as well, but it's hard to cast the right people because you have a number of factors sometimes working against you in certain circumstances, i.e. trying to get a name in or putting bums on seats, or you just fall foul of trying to look after your mates sometimes, and it's not quite there.
Yeah, all those things are there, that's for sure, but you wouldn't want to, I mean, if you want to hit, do your honest best with it, then none of those considerations about doing it for a mate. You might know the person, there might be a friend, but like the primary thing is that person, male or female, is proper casting for the part.
Yeah.
There may be mates, of course you'd know loads of but
sure, you'd know everyone anyway, wouldn't you?
Yeah, well, it's interesting, you mentioned, you haven't mentioned it yet, but Jim Sheridan, I worked on in the project with him, and I also I was to be in My Left Foot, but however, the Shinsuke Lela, but I did the field and In the Name of the Father with Jim, and it was, he had a great trust in people. He never said a word to me how to do or what to interpret. He understood, and everybody, I never saw him giving instructions to people to, and he had that thing, well, you know what I mean, I did on stage with him as well, over in London, 784 Theatre Company. I'm very fond of Jim, but he had that simpatico for the people, and he never put himself bigger than...
Yeah, he's a great warmth to him.
Yeah, there is a very genuine thing.
I've met him on a couple of occasions, obviously, and we interviewed him before. But
good, yeah.
And I got the impression, and we did a little thing outside of the show, I worked, and I got the impression that he's very much, like, don't get me wrong, everybody has, to some degree, a measure of ego, because you need it to be a leader.
Sure, yeah.
But he struck me as somebody who was curious. Just let's find it together.
Yeah.
Is he somebody, when you're working with him in that context, where he's like, well, what do you think?
Well, he lets you do the thing, and if it's too much or it's too little, or he might direct you. But his instinct is to let you loose.
Yeah.
And if that falls into place,
in service of what you're doing, obviously.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I remember when we were down doing the field the whole month down the west of Ireland doing the field. And I was playing Traveller with Ger O'Leary, and we're in scenes. Our wives, Ruth McCabe and Joan Sheehy. We were Travellers and Ger. So we're in lots of scenes in the background. In the background, looking, seeing what's going on in that kind of situation, and just seeing him and watching John Hurt. And watching Harris, obviously, you know, fucking tears in my eyes, man, tears in my. It was so brilliant. It was just, Jim doesn't get in the way. He does understand when he sees it. That's it.
Yeah, I mean, I know through my own experience, sometimes directors are not always motivated by the right things, you know. So it's great to hear that. I mean, you know, and like I said, you've been in it, lots of TV, lots of theatre. You know, obviously, you know, be remiss of me not to mention your son, who's a fine actor too, really fine actor.
David, sure,
who works quite a lot, you know, and quite big things now as well. How proud of you of your son?
I remember sitting in school, and there was a guy called Derek West, who was the principal of the school, and he was passionately interested in theatre. I used to do a show every term, at least seemed every, but and he did Othello.
Yeah.
School, you know, fucking taking on Othello. And David was playing Iago, and I was sitting with his mother in the school performance of it, and just seeing this guy going, playing Iago, my son playing Iago, 16 years of age. I just said to her at the end, if he wants to go on in acting, we just can't stand against him. Yeah.
So you put money in thy purse, did you?
Yeah, well, there you go.
For the first couple of years.
Yeah. But he did what he did while I was away working in the RSC. The Abbey at the time, they would have crowd scenes.
Yeah.
You know, when they did, I don't know if they're still there, but you know, crowd scenes, you know,
chorus,
Casey.
The chorus or whatever.
Yeah, we're not let's call
Yeah.
but crowd scenes, you know, all that selling papers or something, you know, newspaper, if it was, you know, Casey, he said, and he would Gleason and all the, you know, and he was at school, and it was a way of getting a few bob for the family, but he'd be in there in the crowd scenes, you know, so you'd learn a bit like myself, you know.
It's a great, I'm a huge advocate of the ensemble and the team, you know. I was in like youth theatre, I was in DYT, Dublin Youth Theatre.
So was he, yeah.
National Youth Theatre.
Oh, lovely, yeah.
Into drama school, you know. And, you know, a creative life, I believe, isn't a wasted one on any level.
Not at all, no.
Because it keeps you, number one, away from some bad influences.
Yeah, absolutely.
But also, how important do you think it is to be an actor or creative in your life? Do you think it's helped you in your life? Do you think it's
as I say, Paul, like the thing is that when I went in that Monday morning into the Abbey, I knew I was in the right place. I didn't know what was ahead of me.
Yeah.
But I knew I loved being in the crack and thing, and we're all doing it, and it's going to put on a show. It's all geared towards 8 o'clock on the night for the audience and to lift them and lift their experience. And, you know, everything I've done is with that in mind, be it long before I began putting on jazz concerts, putting on plays, touring plays around the country, you know.
Yeah, the excitement of that night. There's always something to look forward to.
I mean, to be in this world and to be doing what you love doing, however tenuous that might be, like, you know, money or this, that and the other, trying to do it on a wing and a prayer. But like I've never considered, you know, becoming an auctioneer and putting a for sale sign up outside the house, you know.
Yeah.
Which would have been more lucrative, but no, it never crossed my mind.
Yeah, I mean, I know, myself included, I've done other things in my life as well.
Good, yeah.
And I've lived abroad, but I wasn't involved in the arts.
Okay.
And I was earning quite good money, you know, for a period. And I just remember not being creative was the hard, not be, on a, you know, in any capacity, being creative was soul destroying. Do you find that it's like a life in the arts, a life in theatre, a life in film and TV, and you know, it's hard, isn't it? It's hard. It's a hard decision to make. It's wonderful, obviously, but what advice would you give to, and now, you know, as a byproduct of Ireland's success in the arts, there's so many more people going into it now, so it's trickier. But if you had your time again, starting out, what advice would you give to your younger self or a young person starting out?
I wouldn't change anything. Honest to God, I wouldn't change anything. Wouldn't change and all I've been through and all domestic things and family, and I wouldn't change anything. To be brutally honest.
Yeah.
And you know, yeah, it cost me my marriage. It cost me. I'm not blaming it, but you know, I wasn't the best of it. But I wouldn't change any damn thing. I was so lucky. Or no, lucky isn't the right word. It was destiny, I believe. Honestly, that Monday, I keep going on. What?
It was symbiotic.
Oh, jeez, you hear him.
They're the big words
What's
now.
all that about?
But do you think it is?
Anyway,
destiny. You didn't have a choice.
No, yeah, absolutely. And
to
I followed it. I remember, like, I'll just give you one example of something that I was down at the Clifton Arts Festival because I'd done a film down there, and I knew they had a few good friends down there. And I was in one of the things, there was a gig on the Clifton Arts Festival, and the last thing, they had a band on in a disco in the place. And I was with my friend, my great friend, Seamus Burke, and we're there, and suddenly I heard the music. They were playing outside there, you know, in the thing. We were in the back room, as it were, you know. And I said, Seamus, I want to see you tomorrow at 12 in the All Cock and Brown. Oh, Jesus, what's all that about? What's all that about? I said, no, I'll tell you tomorrow. Oh, no, tell me now. Fuck's sake, tell me now. I said, Seamus, this town is made for a music festival, a rock and roll music. Jeez, I've been thinking that for years, he said. And 9 months later, we had the first Clifton Country Blues Festival.
Wow.
So that's pure instinct, and going for it, and despite everything that was thrown against it, and that's another problem, everything that, get no support, be it from, we got it in 1989, we started the first Clifton Country Blues Festival, and it ran for 8 years.
Wow.
And it became so big we dropped it, you know, it was getting dangerous.
You have to jump on these things when you
Go with them. Yeah.
I'm involved in a couple of initiatives like that as well, and it's not a choice. You have to go on it.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, it's a spark. And,
And
I won't leave you alone.
That's
You know,
right. That's
until,
right.
Until you do
That's
something
right.
about it.
Thank you.
Another thing that's a big part of the show is, and we ask everybody that comes on, is because life is tough, and we know a lot more about, you know, how our heads work now comparatively to, you know, even 20, 30 years ago. How do you deal with rejection, which is omnipresent in what we do?
Indeed, yeah. Yeah, it's a good question. It's you have to look at the bigger picture. You have to look that this was meant to be. If rejection came, you just say it was meant to be. Now that's not opting out.
Yeah.
Because otherwise you get very angry, and you know your spirit and everything is changed if you take that on, and it can then make it poisonous, and that can only grow if you allow it. If you keep feeding that poison, that rejection, you just have to say wasn't meant to be. Yeah, and that's not trippy just to say it, but I've had a lot in their life. I'm 82 years of age now.
Good God.
And
Don't look, it's as you.
no, well, then I was hoping for you to say that. You know what I mean? But yeah, I mean, I've had it. Of course, I've had it, and I've felt, you know, an artistic director, Laura Mercier, said to me once on the phone. I was asking him for advice about a play about Robert Emmet. You know, that I wanted to do in Green Street Courthouse. No, it's
I do know a little bit about Robert Emmet, though. I was in The Old Lady Says No. The play about him.
Well,
Yeah,
that's right. Good, because he recommended that to me. Yeah. But anyway, the reason I is that Green Street Courthouse, which is there near Smithfield, hasn't changed in 200 or 300 years.
Yeah.
And I remember I met a guy through playing a few holes of golf who worked in the Justice Department, the Department of Justice. And he was involved in the buildings and all that. And he showed me around Green Street Courthouse. Yeah. And we're coming up from the cells down below to the witness box. Stone steps. He said, Ronan, you know, they're the same steps that Robert Emmet walked on.
Yeah. When he wasn't hiding in the Brazen Head.
I couldn't believe it. I couldn't believe it. And the courthouse is exactly the same. So I wanted to do a play about Robert Emmet. And so I remember ringing Tomás McConaughey, you know, and he's saying about the play, you know, about Robert Emmet, and I wanted to do this, and I wanted to get in his famous speech that Churchill plagiarised, you know. But I wanted to, you know, and I remember him saying to me on the phone when I had to finish the end of it, he said, Ronan, just at the end of call, he was living out in Bray at the time. He said, Ronan, you know, you could have run the Abbey Theatre. And I know exactly, I could have. But, you know, you send in one application. I sent in an application for director of the Project Art Centre.
Yeah.
Got a Roneo'd letter back saying that your qualification, you didn't have the quality. No, it didn't over quality. He said the qualities did. You know, so you just say, oh, this one is, who the... but not about the Abbey. But the Abbey applied and they said, you're... Anyway, so that rejection, or that, not so much as lack of appreciation of what you have achieved and what you've done for your country and for the arts and that would be one. Like, I'm not in Aostána. Nobody's ever approached me for Aostána, and there are people in there, you know, write the moon in June, and they're on Aostána or they're on the, and you know, I have devoted my whole life to it. So that would be, you know, one thing that could eat at me, but I won't let it.
Of course not.
But the reality is that official Ireland has not opened their arms and sort of say, what are you up to? Would you like to come in and do something?
Mm-hmm. But I like the idea of being your own man and not towing the party line on things.
Yeah, but that wasn't, I didn't set out with that.
Of course
that
not.
I'm not going to, I'll do my own thing. Or at least I won't tow the party. No, it's just, that's what happened. That was the reality that they weren't giving me any assistance or any. So, would you like to come and says have a cup of tea? What would you like to do in the Peacock, the Abbey, or the Gate, or whatever? No.
But sure, you found your way regardless.
Well, I'm still here anyway.
And this is it. I'm still working as recently as last weekend, which is
correct.
The point a life in the theatre and in film, fascinating. We could chat to you for hours, you know, and I'm sure we'll have other chats. Thanks a million for coming in. It's,
not at all, Paul. Yeah.
It's a lovely thing, especially to have an account. You know, I'd love to have a longer one, but by virtue of what we're trying to do with this episode, maybe we'll do something again down the line. But thanks so much.
It's a pleasure.
I could listen to you all day.
Okay.
And continued success.
Thank you very much.
And I'm sure no more than yourself, you'll keep working until you can't keep working, which is the point, isn't it?
And will you come to the book launch in 12 months' time?
Of course I will, yeah, certainly.
Good man. Will you buy the book?
It depends how much it is. Guys, thanks a million for watching. If go and support independent productions, go to the New Theatre, go and see these smaller plays and smaller venues, give people opportunities, take a chance, and always remember that every day is a school day in the arts in particular. Ronan, my thanks. It was an education, so thanks so much for your time. Guys, if you want to support the show, there's a couple of ways you can do that. You can obviously subscribe to us on YouTube and wherever else you get your podcasts. And from a minor capacity, if you want to do that a little bit more for us, you can go to buymeacoffee.com/FNI and get us an old coffee. And if you see any of the team out and about, I'm sure we'll reciprocate in person.